So, yesterday we were talking about the U.S. preparing for potential invasion of Venezuela. And so we had some questions in the comment section of, well, why are Latin American and South American countries so impoverished? Why are they always under so much political turmoil? Why is there always a war or something like that going on in South America? There's a reason. And look, after when George Washington was leaving office, he had something called the Washington Farewell Address, which asserted that the U.S. should have hegemonic power within their sphere of influence. When President Monroe was in office, he expanded this to the entirety of the Western Hemisphere. It was called the Monroe Doctrine. These were simply ideas, they were concepts. But what they were was the idea that America should have full control over the nations in the Western Hemisphere. At the time, America didn't have the ability to control a damn thing. Barely had a navy, barely had a country. But after the Louisiana Purchase, pushing the French out of the hemisphere, after the collapse of the Spanish Empire in the 19th century, pushing pushing them out of the hemisphere, and then with the final failure of the British Empire, leaving them with possessions only accounting for Canada and Jamaica at one point in time, and British Virgin Islands, America was essentially able to outlast all of those nations. Now, the reason this is significant is that for centuries, from the beginning of the Columbian Exchange, we saw a one-way transfer of wealth out of the Western Hemisphere to the European colonial powers through a system called mercantilism. Mercantilism is a exploitative economic system. This says you go somewhere else, you steal everything, and then you come back home and it funds wars on the European continent. This is why after 500 years of every resource being stolen from the hemisphere, after the US government, in order to enforce their ability to have hegemonic authority through proxy wars, the overthrowing of democratically elected officials, the crushing of popular sovereignty revolutions, cutting across and breaking up chances at federations. You can look at the history of Grand Colombia and how big that country would have been, the type of economic power they would be today if they had stayed together. You can look at the Mexican Federation, that if America had not stolen literally the upper half of Mexico, the GDP of Texas, the GDP of California, the GDP of Nevada and Colorado would all be part of Mexico right now. And guess what will be the economic power of the hemisphere? So when we talk about the things that go on in Central and South America, it cannot be separated from centuries of European exploitations and then over 2 centuries of America crushing dissent and breaking up democratic processes. So when we see people migrating here to the United States of America, it's not on a lark. It's because the U.S. overthrew the democratically elected president of Guatemala.